Nothing scampering around, nothing tearing apart the plants. It's kind of a bittersweet thing, you know? I had to put the plants all up on pots, all of these pots. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Voodoo Garden. I am the sole host today of this multicolored, multi-textured menagerie of fun I jokingly refer to as the Garden of Voo. I had my little co-host last time and the time before that. Her name is Clover. I have to admit, I've become quite fond of her and I'm quite attached. But she's no longer in the Garden of Voo because she had to move on to the next step in her life. I'll explain that in a second. But I also need to explain the changes in the Voodoo Garden because while she was here, those of you who have cats or have heard from people who have cats, you know this. Cats will get into everything, especially kittens. Kittens will get into everything because that's the nature of kittens. They're curious little boogers, they are. Well, they're curious about plants, and a lot of these plants cannot be eaten or chewed on by animals, so I have to be very, very careful. When I first got her, she was this little pint-sized ball of fuzz that barely moved. She'd just walk around, be in my lap. She was kind of freaked out because she was new. Well, she didn't stay freaked out for long. She acclimated beautifully to this jungle, and that was good. Well, she started running around, batting at plants. I had to take the plants and put them on other pots, like right here. I put a pot upside down, I put a plant on it. And that kept them out of her reach. Well, she got bigger, she got more active, she got stronger, which is how she's supposed to do. I had to add more pots. Until finally, look at this one. It's on an ironing board, it's on a pot, way the heck up here. This is my English ivy that just will not stop growing. The thing is that neither did the cat. The cat decided that this was a fun plant to play tetherball with, so I had to keep it as high up as I possibly could. You know what? I ran out of pots. This purple passion, you know what? It reminded me of Stonehenge or Easter Island. All of these were either up on tables, as many as I could fit on tables, but then I ran out of space on my table, so I had to put them on pots. So I had about 5 or 6 of them way the heck up here, precariously balanced on a real weird stack of pots. And she still managed to get up there. You know what? She wasn't trying to eat the plants or kill the plants or anything like that. You know what she was doing? In the larger pots, like this fern right here, she slept. Oh, I'm sorry, palm. My mistake. She got up on this table right to your left. She would get up there and sleep in the dirt. I'd come into the Voodoo Garden, I couldn't find her, and I'd see her all curled up around the plants, sleeping in it. And that was adorable. But like I said, I have to be extra cautious. So I had to keep raising them up and raising them up. Well, finally, little Clover is gone. And she's not gone for good, but she's out in the coop. I have her in a fenced-in area, and she's getting acclimated out there. And let me tell you something. It's not a bad thing that she's outside. It's a wonderful thing because now she's on her next step to being free and able to do what she wants, go wherever she wants, and be the cat that I want her to be. She's in the coop. And she's watching the chickens, and the chickens are watching her, and she's having fun. She's running at the sides of the cage and climbing up the sides and batting at the chickens as they go by. She's becoming accustomed to them, and I wanted her to do that because I want her to not think of them as food or the enemy, to think of them as family, like she thought of the dogs. You know, like with Rascal, Tanner, Tiki, me as part of her pack. And that's what she did. Now she's adding them to her family, and that's a good thing. In time, within, I think, 2 weeks, she'll be 12 weeks old. 12 weeks old, it's amazing. I got her when she was only about, I don't know, a month old or something like that. It's been a while. And when she's 12 weeks old, she goes into the vet and she gets spayed. It's a female, by the way. She's going to be spayed, have all of her shots, and be totally taken care of. And then she gets a 2-week period to heal and get accustomed to her new body. Then she's going to be released into the coop with the general population of the birds and goats, and they'll become accustomed to seeing her, touching her, her being around them, and she'll be able to walk out and be in the yard like all the other animals. It's going to be beautiful. That's my plan. That's what I want her to do. Now I'm also going to cut a hole in the coop, and I'm going to have a shelf, a bed, food, and a cozy area for her to get in and get out anytime she pleases in order to have her home. So that's always going to be her home. It's going to be a very nice home. I'll show that on the other program. But for right now, I wanted to explain what's going on. The Voodoo Garden's back down at ground level, and I'm really happy about that because I was so scared a plant was going to fall over and crush a cat or crush me or kill the poor plant. But now everything's all back to normal. and I'm appreciating that. I have some new things I'd like to show you if you don't mind, and they happened while little kitty was here. I wasn't able to do much in the Voodoo Garden because if I looked at a plant or touched a plant, she'd climb my leg and try and get up on the table. So I had to kind of ignore the Voodoo Garden while Clover was in here. And a lot of things changed. A lot of things changed, and I want to keep you updated on what's going on. So let's get started. Let's get started. The first thing was the little thing in my hand. This is something new. This is a new plant in the Voodoo Garden, and it's a ghost. It's a teeny tiny little ghost in a cup. Nah, it's not much to look at, but with a little time and a little bit of luck, I'm hoping it will be. As with all my plants, I start them in a little solo cup. My plastic cups that I use, reuse, and reuse again until the cup just dissolves in my hand. That's my way of recycling and reusing. This is a ghost pepper, and I've grown one before many, many years ago. I've grown it to be about, I think, 5 feet tall. Yeah, it was huge, and it amounted to, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of peppers coming out of that plant. I want to try that again. I figure if I can grow this well, and I can grow it healthy, I can show people how to grow it from start to finish. If there is a finish, it may grow for years and years. Yep, pepper plants can grow for a long, long time if they're kept in an environment that doesn't include winter. And being grown in the Voodoo Garden is a good way to grow them as far as I'm concerned. I have the good lights, I have good soil, and seeds were donated by a viewer, so I want to say thank you to the viewer who sent me the ghost pepper seeds. We'll see how it does, and if it does produce seeds, I'll make them available to the public. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you how I grow it from start to big to flowering, fruiting, all of that fun stuff. So stay tuned for this. Hopefully, we'll be seeing more of that. But there was also a plant right next to me when you saw the program start. This is an agave. I've shown the agave for many, many months, if not years. It had the little points on it that kept poking me. Remember, I kept getting stabbed by this thing? Well, I cut off its claws. Yeah, I declawed this thing. So now it has no bite. All bark, no bite. Agave is normally a desert plant that's grown, I believe, for the production of rum. At least one variety. There's more than one variety of agave. This is a beauty that I got as a little teeny tiny slip of a plant about this big right here. Yep. I planted it in there, it grew up, I cut off the leaves at the bottom as they get older, and what's happened in the last, I don't know, month or two, something like that, it grew another one right next to it, and then it's grown more and more. Look at this, it has a little start, a pup is what they call them, growing here. The pup has a pup, another one over here. I'm going to spin it around because this plant is doing things really, really fast, and it's hard for me to keep up. Here's another one growing right up against the plant. Now, what's going to happen is these are going to grow up to be plants in their own right. This is what happened with the kitty. Yeah, she got in here and she decided to bat around the little agavettes. And yeah, that wasn't a good thing. So I had to put this up on a table. I'm hoping that these will get bigger and I can remove the pups and plant them in another pot. Yeah, like I need another plant. But what's happening is the agave, when I put it up on the table, it had brighter light and it had a growth spurt. That's why the new pups were coming out really fast. So the kitty actually helped me get this plant growing faster. I'm hoping one of these months it will send out a flower stalk. And agave flower stalks are tall and they're very showy. So if it does grow one, I'm going to show you the flower stalk and hopefully it'll produce seeds. I don't know enough about agave to know what it's going to do. All I know is that all of a sudden it has a growth spurt, and that's kind of cool. That's a new change in the agave. And there was also a change in the dragon tree. Remember the dragon tree? I showed you how to pull the leaves off. Well, it's all because of Kitty. Yeah, Clover had a big influence on the Voodoo Garden. She got up onto the table one day and she decided to break some leaves. Yeah, well, you know, cats will do that. They'll knock things off the table. They bend leaves, shred leaves, and that happened here. Yeah, I used to have cats ages ago, and I've been through all of this before, so this is no surprise, and it's just all part of the game. But the plant's still doing good. Remember, I pulled the leaves off the bottom. As it goes, I pull more leaves off the bottom, and it's continuing to grow. This was a cheap, really small plant at Walmart, and they still have plants. As a matter of fact, I just got one yesterday. Yep, I went to Walmart, I couldn't help myself. I'm going to introduce the new member, but I also want to show you the updates on some of the older plants because, I don't know, maybe you're interested. back down on the floor where it's supposed to be. This tree, this tree, I showed you the difference between tree and bush. Remember the last program? Well, I did some pruning, not pruning, but trimming of all the leaves on the side with my snippers, and I never trim right up against the trunk on any plant. I always leave a little nub, and that way it doesn't harm the plant. I've always had better luck that way. I left a display of leaves up towards the top, and this gives it the tree look that I want. And this is really kind of nice. If you have a larger pot and you have a plant in, you can do that little tree look, and you can even put smaller potted plants on the soil. This helps save space, but it also helps keep the soil, from showing off. I mean, all you're seeing is dirt. If you have little potted plants, you can put them on there, and it isn't going to hurt the plant at all. This is China doll. China doll is normally a small bushy plant that you grow, but you can turn it into a tree because in nature, it is a tree. Yes, it is. And the floor models, that's not the only thing that have changed. I got to show you this. I got to show you this. This is a sago palm. This prehistoric beauty, and it is. It's an absolute beauty. And you know what? When I went to Walmart, I'm still going to show you that new plant that I got, but I got to show you this too, to kind of lead up to it. This is one that I found at Walmart on their sale table. It was, I don't know how much it cost, but now, since it's towards the end of the season where they're trying to clear out a lot of their plants in the midsummer to get rid of them because nobody's buying plants, well, they have them on sale. They have all of these plants on sale for $5, and I don't need them. I already have one. There was a plumeria I almost got, but it looked really kind of bad, and I didn't want to bring in an ugly plant that might be diseased into the voodoo garden. I wish it would have been healthy, but this one, I didn't need to buy another one because while the cat was here, little Clover, I had to put this one up on her table. Normally, I don't give it really bright light because they like medium light, and this is medium light. These lights over here are bright but not too bright. Over there, right next to you, those are the blindingly bright ones that all the plants that need really bright light, that's where they go. This one, I put over there temporarily, and for some reason, it seemed to like it. Yeah, and it put out some new growth that is so beautiful and so graceful. I got to show you this. I really do. Okay, come on over here and take a look at sago. It has seen so much happen on this world, hundreds of millions of years. Yes, that's incredible, isn't it? Hundreds of millions of years. It has seen the rise and fall of empires, of species, continental drift, ice ages. It has seen it all, and it's still here. And I'm kind of flattered and honored that this is in the voodoo garden. This is a sago palm, and it's a very simple plant. It's a very simple plant with very simple needs, very easy to take care of. And you can find these at the stores sometimes. They don't look like much. You'll see a smaller one. They have these hard green leaves that don't really look that great, but they'll have a little bulb at the bottom. Never bury that bulb, okay? That's not a good thing. The bulb should be on the top of the surface. I give it rich, well-drained soil, just like all my other plants, and it seems to like that. I figured it's a tropical plant, from back in the days of swamps and stuff like that. It's going to like this rich soil, and it does. It sat there staring at me, doing nothing, and just being beautiful. Then when I put it up on the shelf to keep Kitty from killing this prehistoric thing, it decided to put out, it doubled its leaves. It had like 5 or 6 leaves, and now it has 5 or 6 more. Look at this. These are all brand new, and they're not as hard and spiky as the old ones. They're soft like a regular fern. Yeah, isn't that cool? They're not like most palms you'll see. They're not like ferns. They're kind of a mix. They're soft like ferns when they come out, but then they get hard like this. But they're a palm. Not a true palm as far as I know. I don't know much about these. I'm not going to get into the scientifics because if I do, I always get beat up and thrown out in the garbage. So I'm just going to say it's a beautiful plant. And if you ever want to try and grow it in rich, well-drained soil. Keep it in medium light. You don't have to put it in direct sunlight, and I wouldn't recommend it, although some people probably do. But you just put this on like a kitchen table, dining room table, a little bit away from a window, northern window, eastern window. Absolutely perfect for this plant, and it's a nice accent. It'll definitely get people looking at your plants. $5 to $10 well spent. It's such a small investment for houseplants. And they give you so much. And you don't even have to buy a lot of these things. You can get cuttings from friends. Yeah, you can. You can get little, like the Purple Passion. Get a cutting from a friend. And like when you buy them at the store, you get these little tiny things. You know, this one, this Purple Passion that everybody keeps complimenting me on, this thing has been here forever. I got it as this itty bitty little plant for just a couple dollars at the garden center. I grew it, I pruned it, I started new plants. This is not the original plant. This is like the child or grandchild of the original itty bitty plant. It's been through so many reincarnations, so it's a beautiful plant. It's so easy to care for. So many people have so many problems with it, and I believe that their problem is that they over care for their plants. Plants don't need us to over care for them. They are perfectly capable of taking care of themselves. All they need is a good foundation, good soil that's well drained, if they require that, but most of them do, okay, unless you're growing water lilies or something like that. Good, rich, well-drained soil. Allow the soil to dry out. You know, the biggest killer is overcare, which means overwatering, over-fertilizing. When a plant starts looking sick, people's first reflex is more water, feed it, feed it, feed it. No, no. Calm down, okay? Let the soil dry out. It's not going to hurt the plant. The worst that's going to happen is the leaves will wilt. But you know what? The leaves will come right back up when you water it. It's better to underwater than overwater in most cases. Now, there is one plant I didn't grow from a little start. I grew it from the seed. It's called the Praxis cherry. You've seen that. You've seen that on so many programs for almost a decade now on my outdoor programs. Well, I grew one inside because a friend sent me one of the seeds that I sent. I think it's the grandchild of the seed that I sent them. They grew it, saved seeds, grew it, saved seeds, sent me a seed back. So I'm growing it again. Yes, I am. I'm growing it outside. You're going to love it. On the other channel, you got to see what this plant can do. It's a tomato plant, but it's unlike just about any other tomato plant you've ever seen how it grows. It grows out, it grows supporting itself. You don't need a cage for this thing. You don't need poles for this thing. It will grow out, grow up, grow out, grow up, and it will fill you with so many tomatoes you won't know what to do. The nice thing about it is the tomatoes are thinner skinned. It's a cherry tomato, but it's unlike a lot of them. One thing is, it has a thinner skin. You know, cherry tomatoes tend to have a thicker skin. You bite into them, you get a lot of skin, and that's not something that I like. The Praxis cherry, and I call it that because it was a different kind, and I grew it for many years and saved seeds, grew it, saved seeds, and I took the genetics back down to an earlier time when I think it was a better variety. And it's got thinner skin. It's got an old-fashioned tomato flavor, which is hard to find. It's not too sweet. It's not too acidic. It's got a good blend, and it's got the full, rich tomato flavor to back it up, which normally cherry tomatoes are just little bits of sugar. You know, they're very sweet, and some people don't much appreciate that. They like it, but maybe they want a little bit more tomato flavor. This one has that. And I sound like a commercial, but it's true. People that bite into this, they say the exact same thing. Thin skin, which is good, but it doesn't damage, so that's a nice thing. Has a good rich tomato flavor. It produces prolifically. It won't stop producing until you actually pour a can of gas on this and burn it. Or old Jack Frost takes a dump on your plant. It's going to keep producing. It's even producing inside the Voodoo Garden. And what I'm doing is I'm eating these tomatoes as fast as I can. I'm saving the seeds from the tomatoes. It's weird the way we eat tomatoes in this house. I actually cut into the tomato, make a cross in it, squeeze it into a cup, and then we eat the tomatoes. We're not allowed to eat the tomato seeds because what I'm doing is I'm fermenting the tomato seeds to get the goo off of them, to make them clean and process them correctly. Then I'm saving the seeds. I'm going to put them on the littleshopofseeds.com website, and then this autumn people can get these seeds and try it for themselves, and you'll see why I've been yapping on and on about these tomatoes, why everybody else has been yapping about these tomatoes. Once you taste it, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, and you're going to want to grow this yourself. Save seeds, share them with your friends, and that's what I hope you do. Save seeds, share them with your friends, and get them started growing a tomato that they're going to love growing. Now, I have one growing outside because I thought, well, you know, an indoor plant isn't going to produce that many seeds. I was wrong. Here I go again being wrong. I was wrong. This plant is doing marvelous. I'm going to show you this plant. But also outside it's doing even better because, you know, outdoors you just can't compete with outdoors. But indoors it's competing quite well. But I did something different. And with that being said, let me show you what I'm doing with the cherry tomato plant. I have a upside down pot with a pot on top to raise it up closer to the light, and this is a very bright light. this LED light is working wonders for all of my plants. I really do like it. It was well worth the investment. One of the plants that's getting its full attention is this little tiny thing. Yeah, it's cute, very non-assuming, but looks will deceive you. This little itty bitty cutting wasn't much a couple weeks ago when I brought the kitty in here. I had to keep it up on the shelf right over here, this little tiny shelf over by Groot. It was in a little tiny solo cup like the pepper plant. It grew, I transplanted it, and it's going to continue growing, but it's a cutting from a plant that's down here. So I had to show you where it came from. Here's the mother plant that was grown from seed in a smaller pot. Yeah, this is a smaller pot. This is the tomato plant, and you actually have to back up to get the full scope of this plant. It's growing all over the place. It does spread out. When it's outside, it's got thicker stems, bigger leaves, a lot more robust and healthy. But even indoors, see, that's a nice thing. You can grow this by a sunny window in the winter. I've done this. You can grow it all year round, and you can have to see what happened to this thing right over at the, and I can get to this a lot easier now. It grew up, got heavy, fell over, and snapped and broke. Remember I told you about that? Yep. It split and broke. You know what? It didn't stop. It grew this way, it grew that way. It did the exact same thing over here. It split right over at the plant right there, and it also snapped over here. Look at that big snap. Didn't stop it. It just kept on going. It's been like that for weeks, almost a month now. It didn't stop. It continued to grow up, and it continued to grow down. And as I move the camera, I have to actually move the plant. This is what we're getting. Production all throughout the plant. Remember, indoor plant. Yep. And I can sweep this camera around down here, and we're still getting production, and it goes all the way through the back and even back there where it's hitting the wall. This plant continues to grow and continues to flower. Yep. It's an indeterminate, and its parent was a determinate, which means it grows and just puts out all its fruit at once, and that's it. Now, this is the great, way like 12 removed grandchild of the original, so it's nothing like its predecessors, and that's good. This is producing so many seeds and so many tomatoes, and they're absolutely delicious. Now, the outdoor one, that one you got to see, and that's on the other channel, the Praxis 55712 channel. But this is the plant that I'm promoting because I believe it is something special. And it's something that I've never seen in a cherry tomato. I've grown a lot of tomatoes in my life. You've seen me grow them. And this one impressed me. This one I'm going to be promoting. I'm going to be sharing those seeds and hoping that you might want to grow one too. Grow it in a sunny window, grow it outside. For container gardening, in-ground gardening, raised bed, no matter what you do, this plant is going to do well. Ray's little infomercial. But in all honesty, I'm serious. In all honesty, if you ever want to try growing this, you're going to love it. The seeds are not available anywhere else in the world except for when I'm offering these seeds. Some of my friends are growing this, and they offer seeds to their friends. But as far as being able to find it anywhere in the world, that's it. That's the thing. If you want to try this, you can get so many seeds. You can share them with everybody that you know, and a lot of people you don't know. Just start giving seeds to people. They're going to appreciate it. It's going to be something that just keeps on giving. And like I say, everything is so cheap on the website. 55 cents for a pack of seeds, a full measure of seeds. That's not a lot to pay for something that's going to be giving you that kind of production. Now, now that I'm done selling, I want to show you something. And this is a new plant. Doesn't look very remarkable, but I got a feeling, my gut told me that this is going to do well. And you know who picked this out? Not me. Mike, my best friend, Mike the dishwasher. Yeah, we were at Walmart like we always are because, you know, it's the only store around out here in the middle of nowhere. This plant, hi, how you doing? This plant, it struck him. He said, this is different. It looks different, Ray. It looks like your ivy at home. And it does. It looks a lot like my ivy at home. That's why I wanted to come back to this. This is a variegated ivy, nothing special. They're called Hedera. And it started out in a real tiny pot like this. Just had a few little runners going on. I transplanted it into the soil mix that I make. This is what happens. Eventually I got to hang it from the ceiling because I'm running out of room and I don't know where it's going to go. See, I put it on these pots, but it kept growing while it was on the pots because when I raised it up, it got closer to the light, which spurted into growing. So I actually defeated my own purpose about trying to keep it away from the cat. Got closer to the light, it grew faster, it came down towards the cat, and eventually I was just tying these up. Now they're back down. This is called an ivy, Hedera. I just call it the ivy, English ivy or something like that. It's a variegated. You can get them in regular green or you can get them in a variegated color. I prefer the variegated color. Well, that being said, there is also a plant called Japanese Aurelia, and that's a beautiful plant. It's an upright tree type plant that's very much upright like the China doll. Yeah, and it's a beautiful plant. What they did, they didn't, it's not GMO. Okay, let's get the word GMO out of our vocabulary. No GMO going on here in the Garden of Voo. But there is hybrid. Yes, they hybridized. They crossed the plants like a lot of people will do, pollinated one with the other. And they came up with this one. Yep, they took this plant and they crossed it with a Japanese Aurelia, and they came up with this one, and let's see if I pronounce it right. P-I-A. Pia? Pia? It's called a Pia tree ivy. Yes. And if I didn't pronounce it right, I don't care. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. This is called, I'm just going to call it my tree ivy. Yes, it is. This is like an English ivy. It has leaves shaped like the Aurelia, and it grows in a tree format, but the leaves, well, the vines, well, actually it's not a vine, it's kind of a stalk, will go out in all different kinds of directions. Now, no, don't worry, I'm going to show you up close. This is a plant that I never even knew existed, and now it's here in the Garden of Voo. Well, first of all, who thought of this pot? This gosh awful butt ugly. I never do keep my plants in the pots that they have at the store, but then again, they're not selling the pot, they're selling the plant. This is what it looks like. Look at the leaves. First thing I did was I got my goggles, my magnified goggles, and I looked for insects. Soil, stem, top. I always recommend that. Always check your plants because you never know how they take care of them at other stores. And generally they don't take very good care of them. I don't care whether it's Home Depot, Walmart. Those people just don't seem to care. Now look at this. Look at the upright growth pattern of this. Isn't that something? Yep. And it's got multiple stems in there, but the leaves are beautiful. Yeah, this is going to be a nice plant. I like this. Something about it, it strikes me. So I want to thank Mike, my best friend, for finding this for me. It only cost a couple dollars, and it was the only one they had. So I'm lucky. I got the only plant that they had there. I want you to keep an eye on this because I'm going to transplant it, and I'm thinking if it grows like its relative up here, holy moly, we're going to have some kind of fun in the Garden of Voo, aren't we? New things from seed, new things from the store, new growth from an old plant. Everything's coming together in the Garden of Voo. It is green, it is lush, it is tropical in here, and I'm going to do a clip as I fade out into the internet. I'm going to show you what's going on with the air potato, because I told you I wanted to show you the roof, but I'll show you that on the closing. But for right now, I'm going to put everything back in its place, put it in the lights, and get everything watered, because that's my job now that I don't have the kitty to play with. I got to take care of these plants, because if I don't, nobody will. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining me every other week or every week whenever I decide to put out a program. I do appreciate it that you drop by my little paradise here that I call the Garden of Voo. I really do appreciate your visits. I appreciate your input, your ideas, your thoughts, the way that we interact over here. I like that. Indoor gardening can be fun. Some of us can't get outside. Some of us want to do outside and indoor gardening, and that's fine as well. Whatever your reason for growing inside, whether it's tropical, non-tropical, vining, non-vining, food plants. You can grow food indoors. I've grown lettuce, I've grown asparagus, I've grown it all indoors. You can grow just about anything you want. As long as you're creative, you think a little outside the box, yep, you can. If you have any questions, post it in the comment section below. I'll be glad to help you in any way I possibly can. And until next time, this is Ray and his green and fuzzy and furry and happy little friends. Have a great day, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. We're out of here.